Hello there, sword friends. Today let's take a look at an offering unusual to this channel. The Centipede tanto, designed by my friend Brother Nathaniel, also known as Levin Lance. So, Brother Nathaniel is a seasoned arms and armor collector, enthusiast, and a knife and swords designer. He has come up with a fictional organization that fights supernatural monsters and entities and their human allies. If you are familiar with the Witcher franchise or the Man of Letters from the Supernatural series, you will get an idea of what it actually is. He has designed an entire arsenal for this organization called the Lodge. The tone is definitely dark fantasy with heavy gothic influence, but still grounded in reality. The Lodge is a mysterious organization made up by an unknown number of members, known as the Seekers, specialized in combating and studying otherworldly threats, the supernatural, and all happenings related to the enigma known simply as the portals or doors. Their sigil is the Lancia cross, which was created to honor Lord Bran Lancia, a.k.a. the Levin Lance, upon his sacrifice in the Forbidden Forest, where he was able to successfully seal one of the portals to save the people. Lord Bran was a late 15th century noble and armor combat and jousting specialist. After certain traumatic life events, he took the mantle to fight the evil in the Forbidden Forest and eventually put an end to it. His current status is unknown, presumably killed in action, or as the Lodge believes, trapped inside one of the portals. The Seekers are clandestine operatives and members of the Lodge that oversee the missions required in pursuing the ultimate goal of sealing off the doors and holding back the evil that seeks to overtake the innocent. Although they hail from different walks of life and share many differences, they are united by blood and will uphold the code of the Lodge under the punishment of death. Although the total combative capacity is unknown, even sizable local military and law enforcement groups generally keep a broad, respectful distance from them. Whether this is a personal, professional, or instructed behavior is unknown. The intensive objectives require elite-level warriors trained in combat and other pursuits. They are equipped and armed with state-of-the-art equipment of the time era, some seemingly unknown materials and make. The motto of the lodge is Bestia proponit, Deus disponit, meaning beast proposes, God disposes. The target of the lodge includes fiends such as vampires, werewolves, and humanoid mermen, to entities powerful enough to cause plagues, delirium, and mass genocide. So you see, there's a consistent need for having a competent arsenal at their disposal. Seekers tend to carry multiple weapons on them at all times. They are generally categorized into three tiers: the primary arms, sidearms, and small arms. The primary arms are generally carried by seekers who will vary based on multiple circumstances. This will typically be a weapon requiring both hands and maximum length or leverage to be applied to it. Warhammers, axes, longswords, spears. Sidearms generally consist of large knives, kukris, tomahawks. Small arms are close-quarter combat takedown weapons such as katar, push daggers, rondo daggers. It was designed by Brother Nathaniel and forged by Gulzar, Ahmed, and sent to me for free for review. I'm very grateful of this review opportunity, specifically a model designed by my friend. This is definitely a big fixed blade knife with a 8 3/4 inch blade, now in a diminished state because I push it to its limit during the testing, and that was a very harsh testing, as you will see. It literally broke off its tip. I will explain why it is as expected, given its context and the specific trait of this knife. It's a big knife with a tanto style blade, inspired by some short knives of Japanese origin, but also have a very unique coffin hilt, usually found on American Western bowie knives. So it's a unique hybrid for sure. The blade is made from 5160 high carbon spring steel, full flat ground with some slight convex geometry near the edge, but also a slight amount of concave grind right below the spine. So you can see it features a profile taper that has an increased rate towards the tip. This way it forms a cute pointy tip that has minimal resistance, penetrating materials hard and soft. The blade is blued with heat, and you can see the artifact of differentially hardening. The edge is hardened to HRC of, I believe, 56 to 58, and this seemed to be the case during the rip test. It can cut through bone multiple times without having any dulling of the edge. And near the base, you see Brother Nathaniel's design of the lodge sigil. Have a close-up look. Cross with rose vine. You see the prominent hamon or differentially hardening artifact, so to speak. And the point was diminished during my harsh testing. That was honestly not a fair test at all. I was too confident with it. I jammed the point into the wooden lock and just flexed it laterally, and in hindsight, it's totally not suitable for a blade of this length. If you have a sword of 35 inch long blade made of spring steel, well then yeah, you can flex laterally and pass maybe 60, 80 degrees. There's no worry that it will bend or just break. There's a lot of blade length for it to
flex to either direction. Having a blade this short, just short of 9 inches, makes it rather rigid. You can see it's almost impossible to flex it with my hand, whereas for most longer bladed swords, I can flex the blade with ease. So doing a lateral flex that way will pretty much guarantee either bend the tip or break the tip. And you can argue that breaking it means that it's rather hard, probably the same hardness as the edge, but a little bit brittle. When I do some cut testing, I constantly feel shortchanged. It doesn't have enough tip speed or authority, right? Because it's definitely lightweight and short compared to even a short sword. But nevertheless, it could cut through multiple ribs with one strike. Backhand rising cut. Look at how long the gash is. There's another one starting here. Yeah. These ribs stood no chance. One bone over here, the other bone over here. Shield through. Yeah. This is a bigger rib being cut. Actually cut twice. Yeah, this cut. Severed several bones. This cut completely cut through. Completely through. Because there's no bone to stop it. So it just kept going and going. Yeah, it's also fairly fatty, so it makes it squishy. By the way, the ribs were freestanding around a cabbage on the stand, not secured down in any way, so there's no chopping block effect. These were all slashes in fighting style. It just goes to show you that this knife has very respectable cutting capacity. Convex distal taper. Overall length of this knife is 14.5 inches, and you can see the 10 is over 6 millimeters thick, so that's about 1/4 of an inch, and the base of the blade is 6.1 millimeters, and it gently tapers down to about 5.4 millimeters at 4 inches from the base, and from there it takes on increased distal tapering down to about 2.8 millimeters before the tip. It also features a progressive profile taper. This is taking cue from traditional tanto blade from Japan, which is this one over here, and some jambiya from Arabic culture. So you can see there's certain parallel between the tanto blade and this knife. And it doesn't feature this shinoji line you find on typical Japanese blade designs, but rather full flat round from the spine to the edge, so it's a triangular cross section. And there's a hint of concave geometry, especially below the spine, and it terminates to a robust edge with a secondary bevel. It's quite durable, isn't likely to take a set or deformation during hard cutting, but it's not very refined for tasks like feathering. Against the grain. It's pretty deep. It will be a very proficient thrusting knife as well. As you can see here, terminates to a very acute point, and this goes into the design philosophy of being a tertiary weapon for the large enforcers called the seekers. This will primarily be a thrusting weapon at grappling range. As you can see here, a medieval roundel dagger compared to this knife is significantly longer. Also have a acute point, acute yet robust point with some distal tapering, able to penetrate nail rings. Yeah, so there's some parallel in that as well. No tip damage at all. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. Broke the tip right over there. Now the steel in here. Broken tip can still stab. Oh. The thick tan is sandwiched by 2 slabs of black micarta. It features 9 notches, grooves on the black micarta coffin hilt, and this divides the entire hilt into 10 segments. Also features a very beefy full width tan, and it protrudes near the end. It doesn't exactly form a spike, but it has a point for some percussive maintenance. There's a hole here if you want to tie a lanyard. And there's a lot of weight in this hilt. Just look at the balance. It's about 1 inch behind the base of the blade. There's a significant amount of mass in here if you want to do a pommel strike, and it can dent even hard material. Very nice, has enough traction for the hand, especially with these notches. If you do some hard strikes, your hand will receive a lot of vibration, and the hand shock can be quite painful. During my test cutting, I cut through a thick bone, but afterwards I felt my hands were gonna fall off from my wrist. Wow, so much hand shock. Ow. Wow. Hand shock. Bones can be cut cleanly through, but I definitely felt the impact. The hand shock comes mainly from the full width tan and this very hard and dense micarta, also the short blade length, so the impact comes closer to your hand. It comes with a very nice scabbard, wood core, and leather wrapping on top with some nice stitch lines, metal fitting, a chape, and a throat piece with the large official sigil. The retention is excellent. Draw is pretty easy, so overall a very good package. Suffice to say, I was a fan of Brother Nathaniel's work even before this generous offer to review 2 of his designs. His understanding of historical arms and armor is immensely conducive to introducing realism with artistic consistency to a fictional universe and telling stories in the form of arsenal design. Stay tuned
for I will soon review a beautiful and massive bowie knife of his design. If you're interested in this knife design, you can contact Brother Nathaniel or Gulzar Ahmed or Brother Nathaniel to commission knife of this specific design. I highly recommend it. So there you go. I hope you enjoy this design, unusual to me. If you do, please make sure to like and subscribe.